Hello, welcome or welcome back. Today I am talking on the topic of enoughness, which is the topic I have been talking on all week. And I wanted to continue on from my story that I shared in the last video, which I'll link, around how I applied this topic, this teaching to my own life to get the most amazing price for my apartment, which I recently sold. So I just want to say this stuff works. It's phenomenal. And I want to share a bit more about how I used the law of assumption to really create the most amazing experience. So stick around. My name is Hedley Derenzie and I am a qualified life coach and author. I'm also super passionate about the amazing teachings of the law of assumption as originally taught by the great American mystic Neville Goddard. It is the stories that we tell that create our life. So if you want to change your life, you need to change the story. And if you want to create the most amazing life, you need to know how to tell the most amazing stories. And that is where these teachings can help. That is why I am here. I am telling myself much better stories, and I can assure you it is working in the most amazing ways in my own life, and I want to help you to do the same. If you would like help with this, I am available for one-to-one coaching. I also have a free 21-day Set Yourself Up with the Ultimate Self-Concept course, which you can download immediately now. Or if you just want to stay connected, I am on Instagram. All of those details are in the box below. Check that out. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so today I wanted to continue on this topic of enoughness because it is so important. It is certainly changing my life for the better, and I wanted to carry on from the story that I shared in the last video and how I really worked with these teachings throughout this process to ensure that it went really well and it was a great experience. And it was a phenomenal experience. It was amazing. And I was working with this stuff every single day throughout the sale of my property, which went for just a week and a half. It was a super quick process. So I was working with this stuff in real time. And as I was working with it, my reality would instantly reflect back. Like it was like a process that was happening in real time, and it was amazing to experience. It was definitely stressful and crazy at times, but it was also like a very rewarding experience because I could see the immediate effects of the work that I was doing in my own consciousness. And that's what this is all about. This is not about going out into reality and trying to manipulate and get reality to do what you want to do. And I know that that's really tempting to do at times, but if you really want to create changes in any area of your life, you go in, you do it in consciousness. And that is where these teachings are just amazing. And that is where Neville has left us with an incredible legacy, an incredible gift, as have other teachers, because I know he's not the only one, but certainly I just align with Neville. That just works for me. So I just wanted to continue on from the story that I shared with you in the other video, which I'll just link up here, because the other part of the story is that as I was in this process, it was not always easy, let me tell you, because the old stories were coming up and I was quickly having to revise them. When they come up, they don't feel pleasant. It's not really enjoyable for those old shitty stories to come up. And often you don't know that that's what's happening because you're kind of in reactive mode. But if you can just like hold yourself steady through whatever it is that you're going through and know that this is just reality reflecting back consciousness, that's what this game is about. And that anytime you need to make a change, you go in, then you can really you do not have to struggle through these situations. Like you might have moments that, you know, aren't always comfortable, but you've got the tools and the resources to work through them in real time. And that is where these teachings really are phenomenal. So what was happening through this process as I was selling my apartment, I had never sold an apartment before. I'd never sold a property before. It was really a little bit scary. I really had to work with myself the whole way through, because the other part of the story is there are other characters in the movie. So in the situation, I was dealing with people that I didn't know. In particular, the real estate agent that I chose, who is the best real estate agent in the area. I have assumptions about real estate agents. And of course, you talk to people and say, oh, I'm selling my apartment. And holy moly, like people's assumptions of real estate agents really come to the forefront. So not only do I have my own assumptions, but I also have other people's assumptions. And I knew that those assumptions were not going to help me get the result that I wanted. So I knew that I had to change the assumptions that I had about all the characters in my movie that was unfolding. So one of the things that I also did throughout this process is I looked at the assumptions that I had about the characters in play, including myself. So there's the character of the seller, that's me. So I'm the seller. So there's a story running that I have about selling, and that will play into the self-concept, the story that I have about myself. There's also the character of the real estate agent, and there's the character of the buyers, and there's also the character of the market. The market in itself is also a character, and I had assumptions about all of those. And when I sat down to write out what my current assumptions were, they were all really shitty. I had a negative story going about myself, and what was really interesting was it was a victim story. So as the seller, the first initial story that I had was one of powerlessness. Like, I saw the real estate agent as having more power than I did, and I also saw the buyers as having more power than I did, and I also saw the market as having more power than I did, and I had no control over any of them. Now, that was the first story that I wrote out, and that's coming from the old story. So I could see that really quickly. And then once I was clear on the assumptions that I had on the characters, then I was able to change those stories. So I was able to put myself as the seller in the forefront, in the starring role. Like, this is, hang on a second, this is my movie, I'm the seller, this is my apartment, I'm choosing to have this experience, and I get to say how this experience plays out based on the story that I'm telling about myself and all the players. But you have to first start by knowing what you've got to work with. So you first have to figure out what are your current assumptions, and that's a really important starting point. So what are your current assumptions about the characters in this particular scene, in this particular part of the movie? And are those assumptions favorable? And what was really interesting about this, coming back to the topic of enoughness, is that I had a story of not enough for all the characters. So as the seller, I was coming in from a place of I'm not going to get enough because of what the market's doing. As the real estate agent, I had the story that because he's coming in from a place of like getting and being super successful and having too much, like he's got a lot. There's a sense of he's going to take advantage. Then there's the buyer who's going to come in really low, like they don't have enough money, so they're going to lowball me. Like, I had a super shitty story, and it was all coming from a place of not enough. Everyone in my story was suffering from my own not enoughness. So what I did was, once I got really clear on what my current assumptions were of the not enoughness that was playing out in everyone, I immediately gave everyone the enoughness. So I first of all aligned with I'm enough. I then aligned the real estate agent with being enough. I saw him, I brought him into my mind because he's me. All of the characters in your play, and that's the other point that I just wanted to mention, everyone as you pushed out reflected back. So I knew all of these characters were reflections of me and the stories that I was telling about myself and also them. So I wanted to be telling the best story about all of them, for us to all get the best result, for everyone in my movie to have an amazing experience. I had to be the one to tell the best story. So I started with myself as the seller, put myself in the starring role. I'm enough, I have enough, there is enough, and there is always enough. Start with that. Then I gave the enoughness to the real estate agent. He is enough, he has enough, there is enough. So I gave him the story of enoughness, and then I gave the buyer, they have enough, there is enough, they are enough. I gave them the story of enoughness. And then with the market, I gave that the story of enoughness. So there was not that fear and greed story that was otherwise running. And so I played that out. I wrote that out in my notebook. I wrote out a story for the seller, wrote out a story for the real estate agent, wrote out a story for the buyer, and wrote out a story for the market. So I wrote that out, and I'm doing all of this in real time. And as I'm doing this, I could actually see it reflected back in my reality really quickly. So the more that I worked on this stuff, the more interest that was coming into my apartment, and the more the price was creeping up. And so as it was creeping up, it still wasn't quite there. So I kept working in consciousness, and I kept working on the story of enoughness. I kept playing the meditation track that I created. Like, I was on it. And my imagination, I was revising anything that was like a negative story. I was really engaging my imagination through this process. I was writing things out. I was doing my meditation, my I am enough meditation. I was coming at it from all angles. And as I shared in the other video, when the moment came where it sold, there was absolute perfection. It could not have been more perfect. It was, you could not choreograph. And I actually sent a text to the agent after, because I said, like, I pointed out what had happened, and he hadn't realized it himself. And he just wrote back, he's like, oh my God, that is the best. Like, it was amazing. It was phenomenal. And it was fair. It was perfect. everyone was happy. Everyone got what they needed. I got the price that I was happy with. The real estate agent got a great commission. He certainly worked for it, and it was quick, you know, so he could then move on to more of his work. So he was off, he was happy. The owners got a beautiful apartment in a beautiful area for a good price, for a fair price. It was perfect for all of the players in my movie. And that is why I wanted to share this experience with you, because this is your movie. You are in your movie, as are all the characters, are reflections of you, and you get to create the experience that you want to have. However, you have to do the work in consciousness, and the shit will come up. That, you know, this process wasn't always comfortable. It wasn't always easy. I had to look at some really unfavorable things in myself and my past, and I had to revise them and recreate them. And I was doing all of this in real time. However, I was getting the immediate feedback from my reality, and it was showing me that the work that I was doing was the good work, and it was getting me where I wanted to go, and it got me where I wanted to be, and it was absolutely perfect. And that's why I really wanted to share this with you, because this is in your story now. This is in your consciousness, and you can have what you want. You can have anything you want, but it starts in consciousness, and these teachings really are the tools and the resources to help you get there. You have to be willing to do the work. And I know you are, because you're here and you're watching these videos. So of course you can, and you will, and you do, but it is a daily process. And that's a whole other story in itself. You know, that's going to be another experience that I get to have in my reality. And I'm going to be working with this and you know, continuing to learn and expand and evolve and awaken into more and more of who I am, which is imagination, which is infinite, which is eternal, which is who you are too. Like, we're all this. This is what we are, and this is what we're here to experience. And so I hope this story has inspired you in some way to go out and write yourself an amazing movie. And just remember that the characters are you as well. And so to write, you know, to work with the characters in your movie, if things aren't playing out the way you want, just know that it's absolutely possible to change it. Just go within, work with your consciousness. You can absolutely do this, and you can absolutely have anything you want. You are that powerful. So please remember, you really are the creators of your reality. You are the superstars of your show. You are the producer, the writer, the director, and the actor in your movie. What you assume to be true will be so. So assume the best for you, and assume the best for all the characters in your movie too, and you will have an amazing life. This is my wish for you. Thank you so much for listening. Please feel free to like, comment, and share with family and friends. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, I would love to have you. And also make sure you check out the meditation that I've created, I Am Enough. Okay, see you next time. Bye.